There are strange and mysterious things on this planet, some natural, some man-made, and others are somewhere in between. I found a geological anomaly on Google Earth that pictures could not explain. Deep, narrow slices of the Earth were missing for miles and miles. How did this happen? When did this happen? Are these natural or man-made? To answer these questions, I headed to a forgotten corner of northeast Utah to see for myself. And what I found out there was just the beginning of a much bigger story. No way. Venture to Rome is partnered with K Suspension, a full-service auto installation and repair shop in Meridian, Idaho. The team at K Suspension includes hardworking, honest techs that do a great job at a fair price. They're a very important partner to this channel and definitely worth a phone call if you need anything done to your vehicle. Hi, I'm Will from Venture to Rome, and welcome to Vernal, Utah. Now, if you're saying to yourself you've never heard of Vernal, Utah before, that's something that we have in common. In fact, if you have heard of Vernal or have been here, put it in the comments below because I'm not sure anybody knows about this place. We are in the northeast corner of Utah, about 3.5 to 4 hours east of Salt Lake City. And something tells me that when Brigham Young came to Utah and said, "Behold our new Zion, this is now our paradise," he wasn't talking about Vernal. This place is a deserty desert. It is very dry. However, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I happen to love deserts. My backyard is the Owyhees, which is a massive desert, so in some ways I feel kind of at home here. The reason that I'm in Vernal is because about 60 miles south from here, there are these massive structures that have completely caught my imagination, and I have to get out there and see for myself what the heck is going on in the Utah desert. So I'm gonna gas up the truck, head south, and hopefully find some place to base camp tonight that will allow me to start exploring tomorrow. In the meantime, let me tell you a little bit more about the area of Utah that we're in, which is called the Uinta Basin. The Uinta Basin is located east of the Wasatch Mountains and south of the Uinta Mountains and is a very sparsely populated area, with Vernal being its main economic hub at roughly 10,000 people. It was first visited by French-Canadian beaver trappers back in 1776 who traded with the Uinta tribe. While it's a hard place to live in, it's rich in natural resources because of the Green River petroleum system that was squeezed out during the Tertiary Age and created pockets of oil and gas that have been extracted since 1948. My first impression of this place was that I imagined this is what Moab felt like before it became a tourist trap. Open landscapes, beautiful desert formations, and zero people. Well, except for when you drive near the Red Wash oil field. Wow, we are not very far outside of Vernal, and it looks like an episode of Landman out here. I mean, it looks like we could be outside of Dallas somewhere with all these pumps. I don't know what they're pumping, if it's oil or gas. And there's all these, it looks like storage facilities along the horizon. So it all is making more sense to me now, being out here actually seeing it, because when I first saw these structures on Google Earth, it looks almost like a crack in the earth that was caused by maybe a fault line, something that was naturally occurring. But as you zoom in closer on Google Earth, you can actually see like scaffolding in the cracks. And so I wasn't sure if it was naturally occurring and then they built scaffolding in those cracks, or if it was hand dug by people to get something out of the earth. And as I researched it a little bit more, I discovered that there are veins of what's called gilsonite out there. And gilsonite is kind of like a weird coal, which I'll tell you much more about later. But essentially, they found these vertical veins of gilsonite and they hand dug them. So these geometric shapes that you can see from Google Earth are hand dug, sometimes miles and miles and miles long and over 1,000 feet deep. And what they were doing is they were just digging out the gilsonite that was up at the surface, and they would just collect it, dig it with a shovel and a pick, and that's how these structures were formed. And when I learned that, it made me even more curious to go see what in the heck they were doing out there. Why mine gilsonite in the middle of nowhere? What else is out there? I mean, I just have so many questions. So I'm losing the sun. I'm hoping we can hit dirt here pretty quick and find a camp spot that's maybe not next to like a poisonous gas well or something like that. But man, being out here and actually seeing it in person, it starts to make more sense, but it also is way different than I imagined it to be. I made a joke about this part of Utah not being a paradise earlier, and I might have to retract that statement. Hitting the dirt roads as the sun was setting with long shadows stretching across the terrain was pretty magical. And after a long day of pavement driving with crazy drivers, congested cities, and boring views, this place did feel like an oasis of a different sort. And it was exactly what I needed. Wow. Well, Onyx does it again. This is a great spot. It's not too far off the road, but it's far enough that there's no one up here. There was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 pretty good camp spots on the way up. I'm at the very end of this little spur road, and it's flat, and there's a view, although it's dark, so you can't see it super well tonight, but and it's quiet, there's no one else out here. Poof, score. Works so nicely to just pop on the lights. You know, now I can see everything in here. It's really well done. The lights are on faders. So this trailer is probably the one that has tempted me more than any other trailer. This one definitely punches my ticket in the most areas of other trailers that I've used. The suspension is killer. I feel like this could actually follow my Jeep to a lot of places that I would not be comfortable taking other trailers. It doesn't have extra features that I don't need. It's got a nice kitchen, it's got good storage, it's very practical, but it's also luxurious. So for what I do, this trailer is very tempting. Yeah. So anyway, BRS Sherpa Gen 3, you guys did a great job with this. All right, for dinner tonight, I think I'm gonna keep it very simple. Only the essentials. So I'll have some bourbon. This is a Seven Devils Whiskey Club Series bourbon. And just this ham and turkey pretzel duo sandwich. That's all I need. I am exhausted. I don't want to cook. I don't want to make a fire. I just want to have a sandwich, a bourbon, and have an early night. Cheers. Early morning in the desert was spectacular. The temperature was around 60 degrees, and the early morning sun made the colors of the desert dance across the landscape. I was on a mission to get out early and explore as much as I possibly could, so I wasted no time getting up and on the road. Morning. It was a quick coffee morning this morning. I just wanted to get up and get out as fast as possible. So the place that we're going is called Dragon, Utah. And the reason it's called Dragon is because when they were surveying it, they were looking down on it and they could see these veins of gilsonite that kind of snaked along the ground and looked like a dragon's tail. So they opened up the mine there and they called it the Black Dragon Mine because gilsonite is black and it was like the tail of a dragon. and the town sprung up afterwards with the same name, Dragon. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what we should be coming up on here in just the next few minutes. The drive into Dragon was easy and scenic, and while there's no mistaking this place for the Utah desert, it's markedly different from Moab in southern Utah. For those who love off-road adventure and solitude, this could be an excellent area to explore. But I was here for one reason only, to find out more about the town of Dragon and to get a closer look at these gilsonite mines. The town of Dragon was founded in 1888 as a mining camp near the Black Dragon Mine. It's located roughly 60 miles south of Vernal and only about 1 mile west of the Colorado border. The town grew slowly compared to other mining camps because gilsonite wasn't as flashy as the gold and silver booms in California, Nevada, Colorado, and Idaho, and the rocks were hard to transport. But when the Gilson Asphaltum Company took over operations of the mine in 1901, they built the narrow-gauge Uinta Railway, which terminated at Dragon and was the primary driver in its growth to roughly 400 people. The town boasted 2 saloons, which was relatively rare in Utah, a train depot, locomotive shops, a general store, boarding house, barber shop, hotel, and schoolhouse. In 1910, a library was started and the train delivered books free of charge to folks who lived along the railway. However, in 1911, the railway was extended to nearby Watson and then to Rainbow, which began the slow decline of Dragon. The town held on and remained relevant for as long as it could, but by 1940, the population had dipped to only 10 residents. In these canyon walls, history was made unlike anywhere else in America. This is the site of the railroad and gilsonite mining town of Dragon, its historic place, and the nearby town of Watson, along with the gilsonite mines and the famous narrow-gauge Uinta Railway, did more for the progress and welfare of Vernal and Uinta County for many years than anything else. These communities were serviced solely by the railroad, and when it shut down, they ceased to exist almost overnight. But the thing that's the most interesting to me is this map, because this tells us where stuff was. So one of the things I was really interested to see is this hotel. So I'm just looking, there's this hotel that's up on a terrace. It says there were like cement steps up to it, and that it was like over, let's see, it was like south, they said, of the depot. And we're standing right about where the depot was. South is this way, so I bet if we look hard enough, there's more than just sagebrush over there. So I'm just walking along the road here, and that rock formation looks familiar. And those terraces look familiar. So I wonder if we walk back there if we'll see anything. Okay, so it's like there's 2 or 3 terraces over here. And they said that there were like cement steps right there. Boom, cement steps. Wow, right in front of me. So here are some leftover cement steps that lead to nothing. Okay, just flat. Although the picture made it look like the hotel was closer to the hill back there. So let's just get a little closer. Okay, this is looking a little bit more like the picture. Like maybe it was up here with that hill in the background there. So this hotel was for visitors, but visitors to Dragon were mostly the executives from the mine. So they would stay here when they were checking in on operations. Looks like these were standing upright at some point. Like this was a corner, and maybe that wooden piece that's attached was a beam of some sort, maybe a floorboard or a ceiling beam or roof beam. Yeah, these pillars have fallen over and are slowly being reclaimed by the desert and sagebrush. Okay, let's go see what else we can find out there. I'm back at the sign now, and I think this is where the depot was. And right here is a sidewalk that still exists. And this sidewalk, I'm guessing, was like a walkway to the depot of some sort. And then back here, there's a little dugout of some sort. I mean, it looks kind of like a root cellar, but this isn't a homestead. If this were a homestead, I'd say it was a root cellar, but this is probably the pump house. I don't know. Makes sense to me that this would be something like that. Some kind of just like basic utility building. It's always these ones that are half buried to begin with wind up still standing. The map says that a lot of Dragon was actually on the other side of the road, or the railroad that ran through here. So the depot and information center is over there. I've walked down the road. Look at this. Quite a big building, looks like. Yeah, this is concrete. So this is more modern than some of these homesteader shacks and things. Here you can see the walls. Pretty small structure though. Not sure what this was. I just saw out of the corner of my eye something that looks wooden. It's really hard to see. Oh yeah, see over there? Let's go look at that. That looks like relatively intact structure. This to me looks like your traditional 1880s, early 1900s wooden home or store. There's like some of the walls have fallen down here. Yeah, this looks like a miner's cabin to me. And this was either an outbuilding of some sort, or maybe this cabin was actually a little bit bigger and it extended farther. Or maybe it was 2 stories and this is the second story that's fallen down. Probably it was just an outbuilding that didn't make it. So, okay, well, we've seen a miner's cabin. We've seen some concrete structures. Let's see if I can get on the drone and find anything else. The drone immediately showed me where the stables used to be. There was a large rectangular area still marked, and as I got closer with the camera, there was still visible remnants of the structures and fencing. I love seeing these old ghost towns and just kind of imagining what a bustling town was like back then. Now I'm going to head toward the entrance to the mine, which also has the Dragon Cemetery. So let's go see what's left of the cemetery and then maybe take a peek at the mine. Okay, here is the Dragon Cemetery. There's nothing here, really. There is, let's see. Looks like, well, it used to be a grave. Looks like it's been dug up. The fence around it. A lot of times there's like family plots. The fences around them. Oh, over here too. Look at this. This one looks like it's been dug up as well. So either grave robbers or maybe people were buried here and their families wanted to exhume the bodies and move them somewhere else. It looks like there are some mounds here that could be old graves. Maybe the headstones have just fallen in. There's one right here, interesting, that says, oh, this is a big, it says, Tom Hale died May 12th, maybe? 1908. This is right in the Dragon heyday. And this might be the headstone right here. I'm not sure. It's like people have paid homage. There's some different colored rocks. There's a bullet. Looks like maybe a 9 or 10 millimeter. An old nail. This is gilsonite, which we'll talk about here in just a second. I'm seeing some other stones that could be old headstones. Like this one here. This one here looks like maybe it was a headstone of a grave. Maybe it was that grave or a grave that was near that one that's been exhumed. It looks like there's one that's fallen in on the side there that could have been part of a headstone. Over there's a headstone, maybe, and there. And then over here in the corner, there's what's left of a wooden cross here. And then over here is like a proper headstone, and it's got looks like a rosemary on it. It says, Juan B. Trujillo died 1932, the last person to be laid to rest in the Black Dragon graveyard. And there's some stuff here that people have left for Juan. And it looks like here, this is maybe where the body has been laid. It says Juan there on the stone. Maybe this is the only one that hasn't been exhumed or robbed. And if you look over there, it looks like the remnants of the mine, or a mine, a part of the mines that are out here. And so I wonder if this was the town of Dragons graveyard or just the graveyard for the folks that worked in the mine. This says Black Dragon, which would mean the mine on that headstone. But that sign there says Dragon, Utah, which would mean the town. So I'm not clear on whose graveyard this is. Well, I feel like I have explored all of what was Dragon, Utah. Now, let's see if we can take a look at the Black Dragon mine or find one of these massive structures. I can't wait to see them. I'm also a little terrified because they do look like something that was made by giants. All right, I went to go investigate the mine, but there's a big fence around it with a sign that says private property, keep out. So I thought probably not the best plan of action to go under that gate and go climb in the mine anyway. But I was looking on Onyx Off Road and I marked a few contingencies just in case this happened. And so I'm headed back toward a side road that I think, if Onyx is right, which it usually is, crosses one of these big shafts. So I'm hopeful to get up there in the next few minutes and take a look at it, at least from above, to see what these things look like. Well, the road that I'd like to take up to one of those mine trenches looks to be a little sketchy and narrow, and since this isn't my trailer and I'm not the best at pulling trailers, I'm going to leave it here right across the road from it. I'll put a wheel lock on it so nobody can take it. And I'm guessing it won't take me long to drive up there, but you just never know. I just don't want to get into a situation where I can't turn this thing around or I have to try to back it down and I get into real trouble or damage the trailer or the truck. So I'm gonna leave it here and then I'm gonna head up. While the trailer may have been just fine on this trail, it likely wouldn't have come out unscathed because the narrow trails and twisty turns. The Gladiator, though, was having zero problems, and I was having a blast winding my way through this wash and looking for the gilsonite vein. The road stopped right at an entrance to the old mines, and once I saw them in person, my rowdy fun time in the Jeep quickly turned to a reverential awe for something much bigger than myself.
No man's an island when he's had this conversation. No man's a forest even if he tries to be one. I've seen your insides, they're colourful. But you're not an island, even if you try to be one with me.
So this is gilsonite. This is like very strange. This is the first time I'm ever touching it. It's really light. It crumbles. It's like, it feels like plastic almost, like 3D printed plastic or something. That's how light it is. And it just almost falls apart in your hand. That's why it's in such small chunks. And so here are just a few of the things gilsonite is used in. Gilsonite is a member of the hydrocarbon bitumens family. Basically, water leached between the layers of the earth, then eventually, gilsonite was squeezed into the places where the water once was. The Uinta Basin is the only known place in the world where it's available in commercially viable quantities. Gilsonite has many applications. In ancient times, it was used to help mummify bodies by the Egyptians, the Iranians used it for fiery catapult ammunition, and the Romans used it to help pave roads. Today, it's used in printing inks, drilling additives, insulations for wire, roofing materials, battery boxes, and floor coverings, just to name a few. However, because gilsonite is a flammable rock, it's very tricky and quite dangerous to work with, as even the dust can be explosive. In 1908, a fire started in one of the Dragon Mine veins, and it wound up burning for over 2 years. That same year, an explosion killed 2 miners, and in 1953, an explosion at the Bonanza mine killed 8 miners and severely damaged the mining operations. That said, gilsonite is still mined today, still used in many applications, and is still big business in this part of Utah. It's hard to imagine, like, coming across this out hiking or something and being like, I wonder what this is. I wonder if it will burn. I wonder if I could use it in a million different things. But that's kind of what happened. So gilsonite was known to Native Americans for who knows how many thousands of years. And they, I think, mistook it for coal. A guy named Sam Gilson found this stuff and was like, I know I can figure out a commercial use for this. Number one, he was a super interesting character that did a lot more things than just mine for minerals. Number two, the investor that he finally pulled into gilsonite was none other than Anheuser-Busch. Sam Gilson was a true Western man of the 1800s. He tried his luck in the California Gold Rush, but wound up selling horses to the Pony Express riders in Nevada, where he became a U.S. Marshal. He came to Utah because in 1884, he was hired by the U.S. Attorney to investigate Mormon polygamy cases, to which he quickly acquired enough evidence to convict 10 men. It was during this time that he came across a substance that would later be called gilsonite. Sam was shown the stuff by local cattle ranchers and worked tirelessly to find commercial uses for it. His wife complained that their kitchen pots and pans were all constantly covered in the stuff. His first true commercial application was as a waterproofing barrier. Coincidentally, around the same time, Anheuser-Busch was overspending on barrel sealants from Italy, so when Gilson approached them, they immediately saw the value. So much, in fact, that they bought out Sam Gilson's share and renamed the company the Gilson Asphaltum Company. Legend has it, Sam paid Anheuser-Busch $1 whole silver dollar to put his name on the company, which they did, and is the reason we now call it gilsonite. All right, it's time to go in here and look around. No way. No way. Dang. So the bottom here is really sandy and soft. And then, oh my gosh. Look at this. It feels like these walls could definitely come crumbling down. So this is not necessarily a safe hike, although it seems like a pretty stable day, not a lot of wind, no rain or anything. So I'm taking my chances. Holy cow. So this, let me should back up. Ooh, because I think what's happened is I think that maybe this is a cave-in. So I'm not going to walk over that because who knows how deep it actually goes. Wow. So if you can believe it, all of these trenches that run for miles and miles and miles and go down thousands of feet in some cases were all hand dug with a shovel. They would fill up these bags. They would do about 200 pounds of gilsonite per day or so. They're still mining it today in basically the same way. It's almost like unbelievable to think humans did this. I mean, they go on for miles and miles and miles. And in some cases, they're like 1,500, 1,700 feet deep. Sometimes it's like 18 inches wide. Sometimes it's like 40 feet wide. It blows my mind to think that humans did this. In some ways, it's like a scar upon the land. In other ways, it's like a testament to human fortitude and grit and perseverance. It is something else to be inside this thing, I'll tell you that. Well, that was really cool. One of the coolest things I think I've done in my life, to see that. It was also pretty scary because it really does feel like those walls can come caving in on you at any moment. The rocks are so brittle and they're overhanging the caverns, and it just feels like something's gonna fall on your head at any minute. Now that I'd seen a gilsonite vein in person, I wanted more. And my map was showing me that just up the road about 10 miles or so was a place called Rainbow, Utah. I still had daylight left, the roads were easy and fun to drive, and it was hard enough for me to get out here from Boise, Idaho. I thought I should see as much as I can while I'm here. There's one more ghost town area that I want to check out, and it's called Rainbow, Utah. So Rainbow is the place that essentially drove Dragon to become a ghost town. Dragon used to be the terminus for the Uinta Railway, and then they moved that about 10 miles north or so to Rainbow, which caused a lot of the economic activity to also move to Rainbow, which made for hard times to Dragon. So I believe that there's also a trench mine or gilsonite vein in Rainbow as well. So I'm hoping we can make it there and see what there is to see in Rainbow. Rainbow, Utah was called the Queen of the Gilsonite Camps. Roughly 30 families lived here in company-built houses, all well-built and well-kept. With the Uinta Railway terminus being moved here, it was the beginning of the end for poor old Dragon, and Rainbow seemed more like a proper Utah town of the time anyway. With running water from a water tower, an active community that liked to have fun, lots of kids, a school, and a strict no alcohol policy. However, the good times didn't last long at Rainbow because in 1937, all of the work shifted to Bonanza, Utah. Most of the buildings were torn down and reused to build Bonanza, and by 1938, even though there were a few workers left, the town was gone. In its heyday, Rainbow was known as Queen of the Gilsonite mining camps, with strict company rules including no alcohol. Oh, well, it looks like there's something over here. This looks like a cook stove of some sort that has been a little worse for wear. Looks like it's been used as target practice. Here's another metal scrap piece. Not sure, maybe that's from a car, hard to tell. Anyway, what is this thing? This looks strange, ominous. There's a little tiny door for little tiny people that live in here. It just looks like either a support beam or a grave. I think it's a support beam. I'm going with support beam. It's always these little dugouts that last the longest for some reason. Well, you can't see it real well, but there's some of that scaffolding like what we saw in the picture there. And it looks like some of it's still intact. Not that I would walk on it, God no, but it's interesting to think about how they built the scaffolding within these trenches for miles and miles. I was able to get a little bit closer to those wooden supports, which just blow my mind. It's like, were those wooden beams gonna stop that thing from caving in? I don't know, they must have. And then building the planks underneath them or on top of them, just crazy what they used to do back then. And this thing, again, just rips through the side of the earth, and then directly in front of me, it keeps going. Skips over the road, and it keeps going over there. Just nuts. So Utah has 95% of the known gilsonite in the world right now, and they're still producing it. It's still used in a million different things, and they're largely doing it the same way. I want to go check out a modern day gilsonite mining facility and learn about how they're still extracting this coal, flaky coal thing from the earth. The drive was 30 miles or so from Rainbow, and this northeastern Utah desert kept my eyes full of interesting terrain along the way. As I got closer, it seemed like all veins led to Bonanza, and I was interested to take a closer look. So this structure behind me represents an advancement in gilsonite mining in the 40s and 50s. This was basically an elevator that would help get people down and get gilsonite up from these trenches. And just to my right is, I believe, the company is named American Gilsonite, and they produce the vast majority of the world's gilsonite right over there. And they have a little bit different technique for doing it. I'll get a little bit closer and tell you. The way in which gilsonite is mined today is in some ways similar. They still use a pick, but it's an air pick. So they're down there with power tools picking out the gilsonite from the veins. And instead of putting it in bags and loading it onto wagons or mules or elevators or trucks, they put it into basically a vacuum tube that lifts it to the surface. And from there, they process it and send it out to the rest of the world. So right there is where most of the gilsonite in the world comes from. Those tanks right there. Crazy. Well, this is one of those things that I just had to come see for myself, and I'm so glad I did. My mind has been blown on several occasions today, but it's late and there's no way I'm driving back to Boise tonight. It's like a 10, 11-hour drive. So I think I'm just gonna go find a place to camp, maybe on the river. I don't know. I saw some spots on Onyx Off-Road that I'll check out, so let's see what I find.
She said, hold my hand. Nothing I will change. The mortal man, my friend. Nothing I will change. The mortal man, down and leave me fall down. Don't give up a mortal man. He go there, mortal.
Well, this is a fantastic spot to spend the night. I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for coming along with me on this adventure. Thanks to BRS for loaning me this Sherpa Gen 3 and X-Grid campers. If you want more information on this, you can get it at xgridcampers.com. Until next time, I'm Wolf Adventure to Rome. Thanks for watching.